Hi, this is Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz of Israel 365 News. I'm here with Mark Sanders and Rabbi Adi Isaacs, and we're coming to present a new initiative that came out of an emergency situation in America. If you're not aware, the level of anti-Semitism on American campuses is going through the roof, and it just burst into flames. And we now have an emergency. What do young Jewish Americans do when it comes time for university? And they have a program to bring them to Israel. But first, I'd like to talk about what's going on the campuses in America.
Thank you very much for having us here.
Sure, thank you.
I'd like to give a little context of where we're coming from and why we know a little bit of what's going on college campus. So about 12 years ago, started a program called Thrive, which basically partnered with Hebrew University, and then 6 years ago partnered with Tel Aviv University. And we go to college campuses all over the US and also Canada to try to recruit kids to come to study abroad in Israel for their semester abroad. It's a phenomenon that's a very well-known thing that many college students do, that when they are in their sophomore or junior year, they take a semester and travel somewhere in the world and get 100% worth of their credits, and are able to experience another culture. And what's so unique about study abroad is how many opportunities are you going to have in your life to be able to live somewhere for 5 months. And by living somewhere for 5 months, it really becomes part of you. You really get immersed in the culture, get a whole life experience. And that's where the concept of Thrive came from. If you're a Jewish college student and you have one opportunity, you'll always go on vacation the rest of your life, but you have one opportunity to go live somewhere for 5 months. And study abroad gives you that opportunity, so you should come to Israel. And what we did was partnered with Hebrew U and Tel Aviv and said, you guys have an amazing educational content, and you're going to help all the students get credits. But what we want to do is build an immersive experience where you're actually connecting to what Israel's all about through the army, through politics, through learning advocacy, and all of these different things. And then you'll be here for 5 months, and you will leave a Jewish leader and empowered.
When I was growing up, there's a Jewish phrase that wherever a Jew's going, he's on his way to Jerusalem. And there was always an additional agenda when it came to bringing students to Israel. They're in a very formative, transformative time in their life, and it's a way to connect them into the Jewish people. Even if they don't get religious or get Torah, they're connected to the nation, to the people. And there were so many threats to it. It's 0.2% of the population, intermarriage, assimilation, and this was a way of keeping them in. But I think that's changed recently.
It's very much changed, and just in terms of why we started this all even a while ago is because we were not targeting the Orthodox population, the ones that very much affiliate Jewishly. They're coming anyways to Israel. We're here is trying to get people that would not have spent this time in Israel, and study abroad really gave that opportunity. And thank God we've been very successful, and over the past 10 years, we have over 1,000 alumni that have come here, that their parents, when they're coming to visit their kids study abroad because they're here for 5 months, of course parents also want to come here. That was some of the parents' first times in Israel. And it really changed their whole perspective on Israel, on Jewish life. Not only them, but it changes their families and their friends as well. They become natural leaders. You don't even have to teach them so much about leadership. They just love it. It becomes part of them. They want to come back and visit. So that was the idea of why we started this partnership with Hebrew U and Tel Aviv University. But it's important just to understand why we're so involved on college campuses. We also started 3 years ago another program called the Nitzavim Fellowship, which takes kids that are here in their gap year and signed up to go to secular college campuses and train them while they're here over the course of a year as an accredited class at Hebrew University to be the leaders, to be advocates for Israel. They have to all create a project on how to amplify what Israel is beautiful about, what Jewish life is like, as well as combat anti-Semitism. So we currently have 160 fellows spread across 40 college campuses right now that are, even before October 7th, we're trying to do this leadership component. So right now, we know a lot of what's going on college campuses through all of our alumni, through all of these leaders that we built, and we see firsthand, and we're hearing the stories, and we've been working with them of what is actually happening right now.
So tell me what's happened since October 7th. I mean, I'm here in Israel, so I'm not seeing it firsthand, but even what I'm seeing, you had the Senate hearings where you see the heads of the biggest Ivy League schools, which Jews were always naturally attracted to the Ivy League schools. And basically they're saying, a call for genocide to Jews, we don't see a problem with that. You have to see it in the context, and which is kind of horrifying. I remember, I think it was the head of Harvard, she said, well, only when it actually comes into effect in conduct. And the congresswoman was like, you mean when they actually start acting on genocide, it's a problem? It's really become quite absurd. So what has happened since October 7th? What are you hearing?
Immediately, we were in touch with some of our students that were at all different places. At Cornell, a few of our alumni called up, and I'm sure everybody saw the media of a professor that said that he was literally exhilarated what Hamas did, and that no one did anything about it, and our students, whether it was Nava Littman or Adin Moskowitz, that these are freshmen and sophomores at Cornell, they didn't know what to do. A lot of the students, the Jewish students, basically locked themselves in the cafeteria because they were very scared. And we had these conversations about, okay, now it's time to jump into action. And so these students, what they did is that they started a petition, and actually through their petition was able to get this professor put on leave or fired. Exactly, I'm not sure what was going on. But that was one extreme example of that people really felt scared. I did speak to somebody at Columbia that he has not felt comfortable in the law school. He has not felt comfortable to go to class since this started. They gave the option to Jewish students, which was a very nice option, to take classes on Zoom because people did not feel comfortable. And this one student has not walked into a single class since October 7th because in the law school, he says particularly that they are all so mean, so anti-Semitic, and he won't even go to class.
Did this flare up suddenly, or was it always there?
So, do you know the name William Daroff?
No, I actually don't.
Malcolm Hoenlein, you know. He's the executive vice president of the Conference of Major Jewish Organizations. So, Mr. Daroff is the CEO. Jerusalem Post just did a feature piece of some of his comments just this last weekend. He described it as the manhole covers over the sewers blew up after October 7th, and all the schmutz down below came forcibly to the surface and flooding the streets of our minds, as it were. And so he's saying, first of all, it's always been there. It was just sort of concealed. Now it's explosively and stinkingly right in front of us, and many people are totally unprepared of what to do. So now we've got this problem. Now, his solution, his recommendation anyway, is an exodus of Jewish students and their parents' support from the Ivy League system, and a migration to other schools that have a far lower profile of anti-Semitism or none at all. Now, you and I spoke about this before. Prior to October 7th, there's a certain phenomenon of Jewish students migrating to typically non-Jewish habitats for education. I'm thinking of Texas Christian University. I'm thinking of the Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio. In fact, the Catholics are actively courting now the Jewish student potential. It's a marketplace, but they're actually going out. Now, Catholics used to not be so much our friends, but today they're not into the anti-Semitism in the same way everybody else is. So there are these universities that are offering great programs, great liberal arts educations, and actively seeking Jewish students.
It's amazing because Orthodox Jews might have an easier time of it because so far as family values, you know, we're not going to be going out to the frat houses and carousing, having cake parties. And so the Orthodox Jews probably would find it a more amenable atmosphere to learn alongside devout Christians. I think it would be more of a shock for the secular Jews who are academically oriented. They have liberal values. And for so long, they were so entrenched in liberal America that those were their allies. And one of the shocks was all of a sudden their allies turned on them.
I'll go back to the anti-Semitism question that you asked. There is a very unknown statistic that between 2001 and 2021, there has been $14.9 billion donated to the Ivy League schools through Qatar.
Oh, right.
And if you now take a look at that, so they have a tremendous amount of influence. Based on the rules and regulations in the United States, they were able to hide that this money was going to them, how it was getting there. So it's not on the books that it was coming from Qatar. But this is a phenomenon that has happened specifically at the Ivy Leagues, is that you have a tremendous amount of money coming from Muslim places that now Qatar also has given $360 million a year to Hamas.
Right.
So in terms of, if you now take a step back and realize that, it's not so far-fetched to understand that this was bubbling under the ground and there was major influence going on below the scenes that we just didn't even know of.
Like the tunnels in Gaza.
Exactly.
They've been prepping the soil for a long time. So I think right now we're seeing the fruit of their labors cropping up. The Congress, in the congressional hearings, they were asking them about the funding from Qatar. And you could tell just from the style of the answer, the universities were being very cagey. They were absolutely not forthcoming about that connection.
2 weeks before October 7th, there was a weekend at Penn that had 3 of the most anti-Semitic speakers that were being hosted in Penn. And this was before October 7th. So in terms of the anti-Semitism bubbling, it wasn't even just bubbling. It was tangible even beforehand, but it wasn't on the forefront of everyone's mind. What happened after October 7th is that the entire Jewish world, even across the board, the liberal Jews included, were shocked so much that everybody was forced to open their eyes to see what was actually happening. And what was actually happening was that they were looking forward to getting support from all of their friends that stood up for George Floyd and all of their friends that stood up for Ukraine, and nobody stood up for the Jewish people at this point in time, and it shocked the entire Jewish world.
Right, BLM, they glorified the hang gliders. And I was watching the video of the Re'im Music Festival, and you could see the hang gliders coming down. And in the IDF, as I was trained, hang gliders are a threat because they have been used in terrorist attacks before. So I kind of wasn't surprised. It had never been done on this scale before. There's a theory, a mindset that I don't particularly care for, but it certainly has some truth, that Israel was founded as a refuge for the Jews because of our tragic histories, because of the Holocaust, of course. And it's interesting that your program is actually an extension of that. You're saying it's not safe there. Come home. Come home, even if it's just to learn in university. The universities in America are not safe. And to be honest, you know, the analogy to the Holocaust is apt because the Nazi Party did rise up mostly amongst young people and the intellectuals. That's where the fires really started. So what you're saying is Israel is the refuge. Come home.
So 100%. Let's just articulate 2 things that help with that message. Number one is that you have students that are currently in university. Students that are currently in university, for them to completely uproot themselves and go somewhere else is fairly challenging at this point in time. If somebody is doing an undergraduate degree and is a junior in, let's say, Penn, for them to now switch to come to Israel is not so simple. For them to switch to go to most colleges is not so simple. And therefore, that's why we're really excited about this opportunity of starting this pledge campaign, is that students can study abroad wherever they want. Students that are in college have the opportunity to study abroad. And what we're saying with this pledge campaign is that I could stand with Israel, but as a college student, I'm the only one that can study in Israel. And if I open up right now and I say that I pledge that when I study abroad, I choose Israel, and therefore I'm going to come to Israel for 5 months, I'm going to be part of rebuilding Israel. Israel needs a lot of help right now. And as a Jewish person, I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to be here to help. Number 2 is America needs as much help as possible. And therefore, I want to come here to be part of rebuilding and also learning how to tell the story moving forward. And therefore, I want to come here. And number 3 is that as a community, we need to stand up together right now. Now that we know that the people in BLM are not on our side, and the people that stood up for Ukraine are not necessarily on our side, it doesn't mean that we're writing them off. We're still going to work with them in the future, but first and foremost comes our friends and our family. The Jewish people, the Christians, everybody right now is a time that if you care for Israel, if you care for Zionism, come be part of it. And the pledge campaign is allowing you to do that as a college student, to pledge that whether it's this coming year or it's in 2 years, I am pledging that I want to be part of moving things forward, and this is more important than ever. Yes, you could just always go on vacation somewhere else, and you could come to Israel for 5, 6, 7 days. But if you come here for 5 months, you literally will help rebuild it. You'll be connected forever and ever, and Israel needs it more than ever. And the truth is that these college students need it more than ever. The Jewish people need it more than ever, and that's why this pledge campaign is so important.
And now is the time.
And
now is the time. I really feel that this is not like any other conflict that I've experienced in Israel, This, I think, is a transformative point for the Jewish people. We have to train these young people to connect to Israel. I want them to come here and realize, A, they're not alone. We are a nation, we are together, and we have allies, thank God. This time, which was not in the case in the Holocaust, now there is a powerful non-Jewish voice amongst the evangelicals and amongst the Christians and even the Catholics to join in and protect Israel.
Hitchhiking on what both of you are saying, I just want to address the Christians that are watching. We're talking about something that impacts so many Jewish students on campus, but this also affects you. And there's room for you to come to Israel as well. So when we talk about this pledge, it's not exclusively for Jewish students, it's also for you as well. So if you're a Christian student and you're in university, or you're the parents of such or grandparents of such, then let's do this connection and let's work together on this, because this is really a unifying opportunity for people to express, in this case, digital solidarity, bringing people together. And then if you want information about programs that are available and so forth, we're more than happy to work with you to kind of give you the information that you can make an informed decision about how you would like to spend either a semester or do you want to mention at all the new program from the Hebrew Youth?
I just want to follow up exactly what Mark's saying, is that our goal right now is to get thousands, tens of thousands of pledges of people that want to come here to study abroad. As soon as we're getting those pledges, we have the ability to tailor make that 5-month experience for different organizations to partner with us. We have the ability for specific courses academically, whether it's through Hebrew U or Tel Aviv, as well as non-academic experiences through advocacy, through traveling places. We know that if we get people here and people excited about coming, we know we have the ability to tailor make the most amazing semester abroad experience, because we've been doing that for 10 years and our alumni have loved every second, and now it's more important than ever. I will touch on one other thing, just pivoting, is I started by saying that that's for kids that are in college campus right now, or that are set on going to a specific college campus in America, and maybe they should rethink that. Israel's a phenomenal place to be, and therefore we're launching with Hebrew University a full degree, a 3-year degree program. Tel Aviv also has that you could do your entire degree here. It's not very expensive. It's $15,000 a year. Hebrew U is ranked in the top 75 colleges, universities worldwide. It's one of the top universities. Tel Aviv University is ranked 7th in the world in terms of entrepreneurship, right behind MIT and Harvard. And these are phenomenal options to be able to think that now you can do a full degree in English for 3 years here at that price point.
Wow, the price point is certainly a big thing. And for too long, I think the conservatives, the religious, have ignored the battleground of the universities. And we're seeing the result of that now, where there's a generation, I don't know where they come from. It's horrifying. So we can retake that, and Israel can play a major role in that, God willing. So I'm going to be putting in all the details. Hopefully I'll even write a story about this. I just think it's fantastic that we can save this generation of university students who are really in dire straits right now. Jewish students can't learn in Ivy League schools. So this is a change of Jewish values, of the Jewish trajectory in America, where Jews now have to look for a new solution to that, a new path in life. So I'm very excited about this.
And I'll add on that if these students right now, the ones that are currently in college, if right now they don't stand up to what has just happened and spend significant amount of time, what does the next 15 years of American Jewry look like? Yeah. But if we're able to move this forward and get this community, get a few thousand people to say, I am going to come to Israel for 5 months. I'm going to be here. I'm going to learn about all this. And then they take that back. Then look at what the next 10 years in America looks like. And it could be very, very different. And the question is, are we going to take the unfortunate reality of what just happened and move everybody forward? Or is it just going to be a blip on the screen in Jewish history, which would be very, very unfortunate for the future of American Jewry?
Absolutely. If any of your young people or any of the young people from America come to take part in the program, you have an absolutely serious personal invite to come up to the Golan and have a cup of coffee on my back porch.
What do you mean? You're invited to come to the program itself. You'll participate.
Do you have coffee? Because I just think anyone who comes to Israel at this time, you're a very special person taking part in a very special process, prophetic process. So Rabbi Isaacs, Mark, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll do this again in a year when you tell me about all the thousands of students who came to Israel to learn.
We'll see you here.
Amen. Thank you so much.